Okay, so today we're reviewing absolute value for our test tomorrow. So, less than. Let's start with less than first. The absolute value of x minus 2 is less than 6. This inequality is going to have two solutions. Actually, many solutions because it's an inequality. But I'm going to have two solutions. Are they going to include these 2 points or not include? Open circle or closed circle? Open circle, right? There's no, it would be a closed circle if there was a line underneath there. Correct? So since there's no line, it's not including these points. So I've got two different answers. Are my solutions going to go towards each other or away from each other? Talk about what less means. If these are my two answers and I talk about them being less, all the solutions less, would it be towards or away? A lot of people are confused about this. Okay, we've talked about many different ways about it, right? Let me see with your hands. Show me. Towards or away? Towards or away? Show me. This way or this way? Okay, and a lot of people don't want to show me. Okay, so let's talk about it. If I were to say, first of all, it's the difference between x and 2. So where am I going to start on the number line? What's in the middle? No, not negative 2. This means difference, so it's not included in it, right? Positive 2, and how far away? 6 in the positive direction and 6 in the negative direction, correct? That's what this statement says. So what is 6 away from 2? 8. And 6 away from 2 in this direction? Negative 4. So if I say I'm standing on negative 4 and somebody else is standing on 8 and all the values that are less, would 10 be less? No. Would negative, now this one you have to be kind of careful with, would negative 10 be less in the negative direction? No, it would be greater in the negative direction, right? So all of the values would be less, going towards each other, correct? Less than 8 is all the numbers this direction. All right, so this one is exactly the same. What's the difference between this one and this one? It has a greater than sign. So I still am talking about the values at negative 4 and positive 8. Only this time I'm talking about everything that's greater than 8. Everything bigger than 8 in the positive direction and everything bigger than negative 4 in the negative direction. You see the difference? Does that help a little bit? Clear up a little bit? Okay, let's continue. When a number is outside the absolute value. Okay, so we talked about steps. What was always step number 1? We want to get the absolute value by itself. We call that isolate. So example number 1, what would I need to do, Jesse, to isolate this absolute value? The absolute value's got a 2. How could I get rid of the 2? Divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. When I divide by 2, I'm left with the absolute value of x plus 5 is greater or equal to 5. What is greater going to look like? Like this or like this? Bigger or smaller? Bigger. It's going to look like this. Right? Before I do anything, I should know exactly what it's going to look like. Okay, what is my second step? Somebody raise their hand and tell me. After I isolate, then what do I do? Lena? Okay, or we kept saying rewrite. Rewrite the two equations. So I've got one in the positive direction and one in the negative direction. So we had a positive, sorry, let me change this. So we had a positive direction and a negative direction. So what is my equation, my inequality in the positive direction? It's the same, right? X plus 5 is greater than or equal to 5. What about in the negative direction? How about Eduardo? We're doing the negative direction now. We rewrote our inequality in the positive direction. Now we're writing it in the negative direction. X plus 5 less than or equal to, perfect. Negative 5, we went in the opposite direction, therefore we needed an opposite signs, right? Both the inequality sign and the sign of our constant needs to be opposite. All right, let's solve. This part should be easy, right? Because we've been solving since September. Correct? Well, not just September. When did you first start solving? Do you know? You remember? Before 7th grade. I think it was fourth grade. Because my daughter's in 4th grade. I don't remember it being earlier than that, but I remember looking at her homework and saying, wow, they're already starting to solve. Okay, so x is less than or equal to negative 10, and x is greater than or equal to 0. So I have two values here that I'm going to put on my number line, negative 10 and 0. So x is less than 10, or negative 10. We already know which direction we're going, right? Less than means I'm going to go to the left. This says x is greater than 0. Greater than or equal to means I'm going to include 0, and I'm going to go greater. So it matches, right? Let's talk about this one. We should finish our steps over here. So rewrite, and then what's my last step? Solve, and then if it asks you to, then you would graph it. All right, so let's look over here. Less than. What are those signs going to look like? Are those signs going to be going towards each other or away from each other? Less. Towards each other. Okay? Now we've got a mental picture of what it should look like. What's my first step? Isolate. Right? So I need to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. I'm left with the absolute value of 1/3 x is less than 4. What's my second step? Rewrite. Rewrite in the positive direction and the negative direction. What would my positive direction look like? Eric? Positive direction means I just rewrite it. So what would I rewrite?
1/3 x is greater than or less than, only greater than?
No, this sign, see how I'm reading it this way and I see the smaller side? This is less than 4. And then in the negative direction, tell me what it would be.
1/3 x
greater than, good.
-4.
Good, -4. Okay, what's my next step? How about Chris? Christopher Knight. Okay, instead of dividing by 1/3, dividing by a fraction, can't we multiply by the inverse? Wouldn't that be easier? You see how they're the same? Dividing by, check this out, dividing by 1/3 is the same thing as multiplying by the inverse, right? Okay, so when I multiply by 1/3, by 3, all of my fractions go away, correct? And what am I left with on this side? X is what? greater than negative, well, we're forgetting this 3, 12. And over here, x is less than positive 12. So I've got negative 12 and positive 12. Is this going to be including or not including? Not including. Open circle, right? X is greater than negative 12. Greater than means this way. X is less than 12 means this way. Does it match what we thought? Absolutely. I forgot to shade this other one too. So all the values this way, all the values this way. Questions? All right, make sure you guys have those in your notes. Okay, so let's talk about this first one. I know I have here your turn, but let's talk about this first one before you get started on your own. This one says greater, so what's that going to look like on a number line? Is that going to be going away or towards? Great or. Greater means away, right? It's going larger than the numbers, so like this. Now here's the only time this changes. This it says greater than a negative 5. This becomes a special case because of that negative. Because what if this was an equal sign? What if we had this? I shouldn't even write that. I should write it. The absolute value of anything can't be negative, right? So if we have an inequality that's got a negative in it, we know this is a special case. So you say to yourself, it should be going towards the larger area, right? Greater, great or, but since it's greater than a negative, it's going to actually switch and go not just like that, but like this. So what's the answer that's going to be? Before even doing it, I already know what the answer is. When I think about what it means. Okay? So it should look like this. It's a special case, so it's going to switch. All right? All right, so what's my first step? Isolate. So let's isolate by subtracting 7 from both sides. Then I'm left with the absolute value of x is greater than negative 12. What's my second step? Rewrite it in the positive and the negative direction. So if we rewrite it in the positive direction, what's it going to say? The same thing. So x is greater than negative 12, and in the negative direction, what's it going to say? I should have written that down here. Sorry, let me just move this. In the negative direction, what's it going to say? X is less than positive 12. So here's negative 12 on the number. You can kind of tell because look at how they switch places. See that? How they're switching places. Normally, I would have this number over here in the positive direction and this number in the negative direction, right? But see how they switched places? This is a special case. So this is going to be in the negative over here, and this is in the positive. So what is x is less than 12? The left. And x is greater than negative 12 is to the right. Anytime you have to crisscross like that, you know that this is all of these values plus all of the values in the other direction. Therefore, this is all real numbers. Let's look at this one before we even do it. What is this going to look like? Less than. Does less than means going towards each other, or does less than mean going away from each other? Towards. I don't see a negative here, so this is not a special case. So our answer should look like this, right? So go ahead and do that one. Okay, so let's do this one together. What was your first step? Isolate. How do we isolate? Divide both sides by 2. I got to get rid of that 2. It says 2 times the absolute value, right? So Levi, what am I left with? after I divide both sides by 2? The absolute value of x minus 9 is less than or equal to 5. Okay, what's my second step? Okay, bye. Okay, so what am I going to have in the positive direction? Oops. Change my color, actually. X minus 9, yes. Okay, and what about in the negative direction? Perfect. So when I solve these, I get add 9 to everybody, and I'm left with, over here, x is less than or equal to 14, and over here I get x is greater than or equal to 4. So 4 goes over here, 14 goes over here. X is greater than 4. Greater than or equal to means including, shaded in. Greater than is this way. X is less than 14. We didn't have to cross over or anything, right? As we were solving these, this is pretty straightforward. This means all of the solutions that are inside. Questions? Okay, is it all solidifying for you? Yeah? Too easy? All right, let's do quest review. I'm going to pass these out for you. Okay, so go ahead and put this one in your clicker, please. All right, let's see how you guys did. Excellent. Everybody's saying A. Fantastic. Okay, let's actually fill in the blanks here. The blank between blank and blank is the distance. Distance means difference, right? The distance between x and 2 is 1. Perfect. Why isn't it negative 2? Because difference means distance, right? So we ignore that. That's part of our sentence. The distance between x and 2 is 1. All right, and so when I rewrite it as x minus 2 equals negative 1, and x minus 2 equals positive 1, correct? So I don't need to completely solve it, correct? You guys all got it right? So it's A. All right, let's do, let me see. Let's do this one. Let me pause it. You guys recording. Okay, so we've got 15 answers in. Let's see how you guys did. Same as last class, and this kind of surprises me with this class. Because, why would it be B? Probably forgot to turn into a negative 1, you think? Oh, I see. Well, you didn't have to put it, but here you had to. Okay, so what would this be? This does not mean distance, right? This means distance. But you didn't have to do that originally, Andrew, to solve it. Let's see. So right here in the blanks would be the distance between and no, negative 1, right? The distance between x and negative 1 is what? 3. Okay, let's solve it. X plus 1 equals negative 3, and x plus 1 equals positive 3. Correct? Right, Frankie? You thought you were off my radar, huh? Are you just trying to test me? X equals negative 4, and x equals positive 2. So how did they get this? They forgot to change what? Because you didn't have to change it to solve it. Okay. Where did what 3 come from? Found it? Okay, can we move on? All right, let's see. I don't think we need to do these 2. What about numbers? Let's go to fractions. You guys want to do the fraction one? There's fractions on the test tomorrow. You guys want to do the fraction one? Yes. Let's do number 7. You guys do number 7. All right, let's see how you guys did. So out of those that did try it, most of you got A. Let's see what our answer is here. A. Okay, what is our first step? Isolate. How do I isolate? Add 7 to both sides. When I add 7 to both sides, I get n divided by 4, the absolute value, equals 2. What's my second step? Andrew, what's my second step? We've been doing it the whole time. Step 1, step 2. Step 1, isolate. What's step 2? What's step 2? I'm not letting you off the hook. Just because there's a fraction there doesn't mean you can let your mind go blank. I know that that's what 50% of you are doing, but just because there's a fraction does not mean you can go, I don't get this. You have to rewrite it. Exactly. So when I rewrite it in the positive direction, n over 4 equals 2, and in the negative direction, n over 4 equals negative 2. Now we have a problem that we did way back in September, right? Kalijah, how do I solve that? Multiply both sides by the inverse. Remember that? Multiply both sides by 4. It looks all complicated, but it's really not that complicated if you follow the steps. 1, isolate, 2, rewrite. Correct? Not really that bad. So the 4's cancel, and I'm left with, in the positive direction, n equals 8, and in the negative direction, n equals negative 8. That's not that bad. Right, Levi? Right? It's not that bad. Okay, let's try another one. Let's do another fraction one. Let's do that one. That one looks fun. Let's do number 12. All right, you guys try. I'm going to pause. All right, once you start doing this, let's think of a strategy here. What direction should we be thinking of? Greater. What does greater than mean? Does that mean numbers going further away or numbers going closer together? Further away. That would mean for sure I could eliminate what? C and D are not going further away. They're going towards. These are and statements, right? This is not an and statement. This is an or. Great or. Okay, let's see, for those of you that did put them in, what did you get? Okay. What? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so my second, so I cannot eliminate, I'm sorry, isolate, thank you. Lost my train of thought for a second. I can't isolate, so I just have to rewrite, correct? Rewrite in the positive and the negative direction? So what would I rewrite in the positive direction? 2 plus 9 over 2 is greater than or equal to 2. And in the negative direction? 2 plus 9 over 2 is what? Less than or equal to negative 2. Let's lift these up a little bit higher. Okay, so in the positive direction, how would I solve this? Oh, I forgot my x's. Can't do that, right? It's the same deal as the last one, right? We begin by, when I want to isolate the variable, I get rid of the extra step. What's the extra step? The 2. So what would I do? Subtract 2 from everybody. So when I subtract 2 from everybody, I get 9 over 2x is less than or equal to negative 4. And over here I get 9 over 2x is greater than or equal to 0. How do I clear that denominator? Elijah. Multiply by 2, right? Did anybody see anything different? No, you could multiply by 2. Or you could multiply by 2 over 9. Multiply by 2, multiply by 2, multiply by 2, multiply by 2. Let's go ahead and just, oh, I can't. I'm just going to cover this up for a second. Got it? Okay. Okay. So when I multiply by 2, the fraction goes away. And I'm left with 9x is less than or equal to negative 8. 9x is greater than or equal to 0. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. What do I get? That doesn't come out. What is that? A little less than 1? Correct? I'm just going to leave it 8, 9. Or x is greater than or equal to 0. So which one would it be? Let's take this away now. A. Actually, I think for our purposes for the video, we should probably leave that off of there, just like that, so whoever's absent can see that really well. All right, we have a few more minutes. Is there one that you can see on there that you'd like me to do? 16? 14. Okay, you guys try 14, and then I'll show you what the answer is. All right, we're just going to do this one, okay? You're supposed to graph it as well, correct? Is this one to graph? Are you sure? I have graphs. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is isolate. How would I isolate? How would I isolate the absolute value of p? Yes. Elijah. Subtract 5/3 from both sides. That's not as hard as it seems. We get the absolute value of p is less than or equal to, let's talk about what that means. What is less than or equal to? Is that going to be going away? Is going away less or is going towards less? Towards is less, right? You're getting smaller. You're going towards each other. When you're going away, you're getting larger, right? Going away is getting larger. Going towards is going smaller. All right, so this one's going to be going towards, less. All right, what is 8/3 minus 5/3? Let's do that here. 8/3 minus 5/3 makes how many thirds? 3/3. How much is 3/3? 1. It's really not that big of a deal, right? So I would rewrite this as p is in the positive direction and the negative direction, right? What is p in the positive direction? Less than or equal to 1. What about the negative direction? Greater than or equal to -1. Then I draw myself a number line with -1 and +1. So p is greater than -1 means this way. Less than means this way. Okay, you should not be packing up right now unless you want me to make you unpack at the bell. Let's do that. Unpack at the bell. Okay, most of you still have stuff out. You're good. All right, have a great day, guys.